Just giving it a moment. So while I'm on this live, I'm also recording on my laptop. So if my gaze keeps going, that's why. I figured I may as well have a landscape version of this video and a higher resolution version of this video as well. Hi, Mars. So happy to see you here. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you all, wherever you are in the world. I'm just going to give it another minute, and then I'm going to start flowing. And this is also going to be put up on my profile, so if you can't stay for the whole thing, it'll be there for your enjoyment later. Today, I am talking about motherhood. It's going to be a very nutrient-dense conversation, as always. And I'm really excited to see where we flow, how we flow. Hi, everyone. Welcome. All right, I'm going to get started and I'll see you on the other side. Sending you love, Angel. I miss you. I trust you are well and thriving on this beautiful day, on this beautiful Sunday. Hopefully it's sunny where you are. It's sunny where I am, so I'm definitely celebrating that. We'll always celebrate sun. So today I am going to be speaking on motherhood. Lots of themes, lots of topics, and I trust it will be an intriguing and inspiring and invoking conversation for whoever chooses to be here for the full thing. So we live in a world where women have been very severed from their most primal impulse to become and be mothers. And there are many reasons for this. And that is what I'm going to be discussing and exploring today in this live. I'm going to get right into it. And I invite you to comment and share as I transmit. I always love hearing from you all. It always adds depth and nuance and layers to the conversation, because it is a layered and nuanced conversation always. One of the reasons that so many women have been severed from their most primal impulse to create and to affirm life is because their own mothers had traumatic and unintegrated pregnancies and birthing and postpartum experiences and journeys, which creates a distortion in the entire genome of that family system around motherhood, until a courageous heiress is willing to create, cultivate, and craft a nourished culture for her own pregnancy and for her own birth and for her own postpartum and for her own motherhood. Because as they say, postpartum is forever, right? Something that is a part of everyone's inheritance in this life is the mother wound. And the mother wound is the pain and the wounding and the trauma that is carried by a mother, which is then inherited by her children and even more significantly in my personal truth system, her daughters. And which is often even more amplified through her pregnancy, birthing, and postpartum experiences and journeys due to not being properly cared for and properly tended to and properly supported and properly nourished. And it is this lack of being properly cared for and tended to and supported and nourished that leads to what we consider inadequate mothering, which is what leads to childhood trauma, which further perpetuates motherhood trauma because the two are irrevocably connected. What usually causes childhood trauma is a mother not fully being able to fulfill her full role and function of the mother. Again, due to not being properly cared for, tended to, supported, and nourished, which leads to the child becoming and being parentified. Parentification is the process of role reversal whereby a child is put in a position to act as a parent to their own parent, to their sibling or siblings, and or to themselves. So much of what is being asked of them is not within their scope of capacity, if you will. And this creates a deep rooted sense of not trusting oneself, of not being able to take care of oneself in their adult life, of not being able to be responsible for oneself, of not being adequate or competent enough to take care of oneself. So it leads to a collapse in their trust in themselves. So they go from being parentified children to infantilized adults. They become adults who are afraid to have and hold responsibility. They become adults who feel that they are not equipped to handle responsibility. And this is reflected in the collective culture where so many people outsource responsibility in their lives. And I am not saying that having a child does not come with responsibility. Of course it does. It is the highest responsibility of all. It is the highest virtue of all as a result. And it is the highest reward of all as a result. Oftentimes, what happens is when a woman does not have a nourished childhood due to her mother not being able to fulfill her full role and function of mother, she chooses to not have her own children out of fear of repeating the same patterns. And that fear itself comes fundamentally from the fear of taking responsibility, of what is wounded within you, and alchemizing it into wisdom, turning it into wisdom, forging it into wisdom. Generally, it comes from the fear of not being able to fulfill your duty and your role as a mother and feeling as though you are unfit to be a mother, likely because it wasn't modeled for you. And so you feel like you lack the repertoire and the skills and the ability and the capacity to take on that responsibility yourself. And what I desire to highlight in this part of the conversation is that childhood trauma is not a reflection of your own ability to be a wholesome and integrated mother. Women who have experienced deep trauma in their childhoods are highly confident and faithful and loving and nurturing mothers, and can be, with the right support and the right care. Women can alchemize their mother wounds and turn them into mother wisdom. This is possible for every woman. Something that's really been landing for me recently is that in order to be fully initiated into the highest expression and embodiment of adulthood, of personhood, you have to have a child of your own. Having a child is the highest initiation an individual can experience on earth in this lifetime. I truly believe that through parenthood, a person becomes and is the highest expression and embodiment of themselves. That is how they access their fullest potential, their fullest purpose. And this goes both for men and for women. When you have a child, you realize a much greater purpose. A world that once felt so small and perhaps even insignificant to you suddenly begins to feel so fucking big and so important and so valuable and so meaningful. And I don't think that anything or anyone can confer deeper meaning onto your life than creating and birthing your own child. When a man and a woman come together in communion and create a child, they are literally birthing their own teacher. They are externalizing their own inner child in a way to come into full union with self, to come into full wholeness, to see their wholeness through the reflection that is their child, through the innocent reflection that is their child, through the pure reflection that is their child. Another reason so many women have been severed from their most primal impulse to create and affirm life is the feminist movement. Through the feminist movement, multiple generations of women at this point have been convinced that being a housewife and being a mother is dishonorable. The feminist movement is completely responsible for the cultural devaluation of traditional women's roles, including motherhood. Traditionally, and within organic societies, being a mother was seen as highly honorable, as a highly valuable role in society, as a highly fulfilling role to play. And women were revered and respected for their ability to create and nurture life. However, the feminist movement has misled many women to view motherhood as a constraint on their independence and their freedom and their mobility and their security, and to view having children as a cost and as a burden and as a hindrance to their personal and professional goals and growth and development. And this disconnection from motherhood has a profound impact on women and on society as a whole as a result. For women, whether they're consciously aware of it or not, and most of them are not, it results in feelings of unfulfillment, in feelings of disappointment, in feelings of guilt, in feelings of shame for not being able to fulfill a very biological and physiological desire that is innate to us, that is inborn, that is encoded in our DNA. And it leads to a disconnection to their feminine nature, to their generative nature, to their creative nature. It disconnects women from a deep sense of purpose and therefore direction in life. And what can be done to restore and honor and respect motherhood and reconnecting them to this primal impulse to create and affirm life is to create and cultivate conversations that reflect this value and honor and responsibility. Creating cultures that have positive attitudes towards motherhood and positive orientations towards motherhood, upon which we can build the stories that we live by. And this brings me to another reason that so many women have been severed from this most primal impulse to create and affirm life. And that is because of the orientation towards motherhood as sacrifice. Motherhood is predominantly, hi Alicia, motherhood is predominantly portrayed as a sacrifice, as this act where a woman gives up all of her dreams, all of her desires, all of her ambitions, all of her aspirations for the sake of having children. And in my personal truth system, this view of motherhood as a sacrifice is deeply flawed and deeply distorted and is a disservice to both mothers and children and society, the world. Becoming and being a mother is not a sacrifice. It is service of the highest form, of the highest caliber, of the highest virtue. And it is a calling to nurture and to love and to birth and to create and to cultivate and guide the next generation. And through that, to shape the future in a prolific way. Motherhood is the highest honor, not the highest burden. And that's not to say that it doesn't come with its weight and with its challenges and all of those things. Of course it does. When a woman becomes and is a mother, she is not sacrificing her life, but rather investing in a new life, that of her child, that of her children, an investment that will have an eternal ROI, return on investment, a living legacy, a living, breathing legacy. Being a mother is not a one-time sacrifice, but a continual service. Mothers are the backbone of the family. Mothers are the backbone of the home. Mothers are the backbone of the hearth and therefore of society. They are the life givers and the life caretakers and the life preservers and the life sustainers and the life tenders. Motherhood is a service to society because integrated, nourished mothers raise responsible, empathetic, initiated, and integrated individuals who will also wage their own beauty and bounty and blessings unto the world. And motherhood should be much more celebrated than it is pitied. And mothers should be much more honored than they are stigmatized. And mothers should feel encouraged rather than shut down. And it's for us to create a culture that does that, that allows that, that invites that. In Indigenous communities, all children are considered sacred gifts from the Creator. They are the most prized part of a community. They are bringers of the light. They are bringers of good fortune. They are bringers of continual life. And they have always been respected as a symbol of vitality, a symbol of the fertility of a tribe, a symbol of the resilience of a tribe. Another reason that so many women have been severed from their most primal impulse to create and affirm life is because of a lack of support through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum motherhood. The saying, "it takes a village," has been around forever. And what it's actually speaking to is that raising a child is not just the responsibility of the parents, but of the entire community, of the entire collective. And this old adage has become a symbol of community support and the idea that it takes collective effort to raise a child that goes well beyond the capacity of both the mother and the father. The symbolism of this phrase is rooted in the idea that a child's positive and adaptive and regulated development is shaped by many factors, one of the most important factors being how nourished and supported the mother-baby matrix was and is throughout pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. In a modernized context, because we don't live in villages anymore necessarily, the phrase "it takes a village" can be seen as a call to action to for communities to come together and to support each other and to hold each other. And this can take many forms, some of them being meal trains for postpartum mothers, or mother blessings for mothers before they give birth, or childcare services postpartum, or any sort of postpartum support around the house, things like that. Becoming a mother is one of the most transformative experiences a woman will ever experience. And for that reason, it can also be one of the most challenging as well. What's unfortunate as well is that most mothers, many mothers, are not supported properly throughout the pregnancy and throughout their birth and throughout their postpartum, which can lead to the childhood and motherhood trauma that I mentioned. So mothers need proper support and care throughout the entire journey to ensure a positive experience. And this is a non-negotiable. It's not a luxury. It's an absolute necessity for the well-being and cohesion of the world overall. Families need proper support and care. Not even just mothers, like to zoom out even more, families need more support and care during these times. The family system has been under attack for a very long time. And it's led to a decline in the health and well-being of families and therefore society as a whole. The mother is the backbone of the family, and then the family is the backbone of society. The home and the hearth is the backbone of society. What is happening internally within a family system is what is going to happen externally within the greater collective system. And so we live in a culture that manufactures disorder within familial systems and disharmony and disease. And then that is very reflected in the external reality. The decline of traditional gender roles as well has had a profound impact on the cohesion and harmony of the family system, which has led to a lack of stability and support for families, which destabilizes society as a whole. Those are themes and topics that I'm going to get a lot more into, not on this live, but just in general moving forward. So stay tuned on that. Yeah, in my personal truth system, there is no higher honor and there is no greater contribution to society than to ensure the birth of faithful and fruitful futures. Hi, Devin. This is exactly why Michelle, a beloved sister, and I have co created Ripening, which is a sanctum that is designed to support the rite of passage from maiden to mother. And that is designed to ritualize and sanctify this journey of becoming and being a mother, to enchant it and inspire the journey and to encourage the journey and to do it in community and in strength and in confidence and in faith, because it's so necessary. It's so, so necessary. We don't have to move through this transition alone, and we weren't meant to. Another piece that I mentioned yesterday I was going to touch on today was infertility. This is a huge, huge, huge conversation. I'm not going to get that deep into it. However, it's a loaded conversation. I will say that. So it's not a secret that there is an epidemic of infertility in the modernized world and in the modernized context. And I personally believe that it is rooted in a deep-seated fear of repeating one's own childhood traumas, of repeating one's own mother's motherhood traumas, of essentially repeating the mother wounding that they inherited. And it's that fear that denies life. And it's that fear that drains life. And it's that fear that disables life. It's that fear that spiritually and psycho-emotionally attacks your reproductive organs and your reproductive system in a very physical, intangible way. The symptom being infertility. And I truly believe that infertility is caused by birth trauma. I truly believe that birth trauma is the birthplace of infertility. And that is why I know that fully processing birth trauma is the only way to access your and our innate fertility. The birth industrial complex and the fertility industry, the fertility industrial complex, are one and the same. The birth industrial complex creates the infertility that manufactures the necessity for a fertility industry. Which is wild to think about. And deep is deep. And I'm not going to get that deep into it because that would just require like a whole day. So yeah, there are so many reasons. There are so many reasons that women have just completely disconnected themselves from this innate desire and innate design and innate destiny to create and affirm life. And I believe it is possible for every woman to remember and to access that part of herself and to be that transitional character in her family system, to resurrect the beauty and the bounty and the blessings of pregnancy and of birth and of motherhood. And that's really what we're going to be exploring in ripening. That's what we're going to be collectively exploring in ripening, is this transition from maiden to mother, and how we can honor this initiation, and how we can always act in good faith throughout and in that transition, and how we can create a culture of nourished pregnancy and therefore nourished birth and therefore nourished postpartum and therefore nourished childhoods and therefore nourished motherhoods and therefore nourished societies. And it feels extra special because Michelle and I, as the holders of the space, are fully on the journey with the women who are going to be a part of it. We are not mothers ourselves yet. However, we are opening ourselves up to creating life in that way and to affirming life in that way. And we, as the holders of the space, will fully be on and in the journey with you, which feels so powerful and special. And yeah, I'm going to leave the live at that today. There's a lot in there. And I trust that it's something for you to chew on and digest and metabolize and filter through your own body and through your own truth system. I look forward to hearing from you. If you feel the call to connect about today's live and the content of the live, please feel free to reach out. If you have any questions about ripening, please feel free to reach out. You can also click the link in my bio if you feel resonance already and if you feel the call to be there already. And may not be mothers, but you have the support and understand. I love you so much, Devin. I love you. Oh, look, I found a sun patch. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here. Share this with someone who you feel would really, really benefit from this transmission and this conversation and this exploration. I trust you will have a blessed Sunday and a blessed remainder to your day. I know many of you are just getting started, so may it be sweet, may it be slow, may it be sensual. Mm.